Hello, you handsome humans. Welcome to step 5 up the tribe triangle, where we explore why your values dictate your destiny. Now, the ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus said character is destiny. Now, how this equation works is our values literally drive our decision-making process, right? The root of decide is the same root as homicide, suicide, insecticide. In Latin, it means to cut or kill. So our values are the things that drive the deciding of our lives. What are our priorities that are top of the list at any given moment? Now, those decisions obviously dictate our actions. The collective actions that we take through a period of time determine our character. And here's where Heraclitus comes in. Well, that character, the collective set of actions we make, literally dictate our destiny. So we got to go way upstream as leaders, because, tribe leader, we are people whose decisions affect other people. Now, whether you are head of a family, or you're head of a work team, or head of a country, we need to make sure that our values are intentional, because none of them are free, and they have a tremendous downstream effect landing in our destiny. So in economics, there is a statement that I heard from a professor that says, people always make their best decisions. And boy, I went to war with this man about that concept, because people make shitty decisions all the time. But it's their best decision, based on the top operating value priority happening at that moment. And an example of this is when we look at what we eat for breakfast. Well, there may be some things that are healthy that's available to us, and some things that are delicious. And based on which one of those values is louder at the moment is going to dictate what you choose to put in your face hole. So if you happen to not be vigilant about holding your highest value of health, then we're going to let other base values rise to the top. And that may be delicious. It may be external validation. It may be short-term immediate gratification. And so as leaders who are actually responsible and have a sense of honor-bound duty to make the decisions that drive our actions individually and obviously collectively next week, it's vitally important that we do some deep soul searching into what our core values actually are, and then we can start working on our implementation or relationship that we have with those core values. All right, so if you're following along with me on the newsletter, for example, at the very end where it says leaders must write and speak, there is a list of values that I have challenged you to do a values clarification exercise. Very, very valuable thing to actually do. And you realize that none of those values that you are choosing are free, because they're going to cost you, number one, the other values that you could be choosing. So step number 1 on this is go through that big list, right? You can pull, even if you don't have that in front of you, you can grab a list off the internet anywhere, just Google values list, and choose your top 5. So you might have, money and fame and service and relationships and intimacy or whatever it is. So you've got top 5. Kill 2 of them to get down to your top 3. And you're going to realize that there's a sense of loss and pain and resistance and ultimately acceptance and grief of, I just killed, for example, my independence so that I could join a relationship. This is how life works. We're sacrificing something every time we make a decision. And oftentimes, if I'm choosing healthy, it's going to cost me my delicious. And that is the nature of life. We have to make sacrifices for something larger in the future. And that's the heavy burden of leadership. I read recently somewhere that people make, on average, 35,000 decisions a day. Little micro decisions, potentially. So if you're looking at this vast array and volume of decisions, you realize the magnitude of how important values are in your life, because you don't have to actually sort out all of these clarifications, this whole list of 100 values, when you know your values. And for me, the first one for me, well, that was growth. Like, that's number one. Self-actualization, growth, whatever you want to call that. A number of years ago, I tagged on the importance of service, because I realized that growth without something that is directing that growth, well, it is meaningless. And then recently, I was realizing that growth and service needs to have some sort of a resiliency or vitality component that fuels it. So I tagged on vitality as my third value. Growth, service, and vitality are my core values, and I use those when I look at what I eat, what I watch, who I hang out with, what I fill my precious moments and hours of every day. Ideally, when I'm operating at my best as a tribe leader, I am making decisions that drive the actions that are in alignment with my growth, which then serves something larger than myself and fuels the vitality so that I can conduct this leadership for the long term. All right. So do some work on your personal values, tribe leader. Pull up that list, choose your top 5, then get down to your top 3, and then realize that ultimately, if you want a little bonus question, those 3 values all have a cost. It's the opposite. So do some work on these things. It may find that you have expanded your ownership, your accountability, and your maturity of decisions that you're making that affect and create your destiny. We'll see you out there up on the mountain.